Welcome to our intro to Git session. There aren't really any team updates, but as we get our designs, then we'll start. Ooh, that's yeah. Well, it's okay. It's recording right now. We'll be fine. But okay, yeah. So no team updates. But when we have the design mockups up, then we'll start doing work on that, and then any homework I'll assign will be assigned at the end of the sessions. But I don't think there'll be any homework this week. But if there are, I'll let you guys know as soon as possible. And then eventually we will have some intermediate assignments just so we keep our skills sharp. But yeah, okay. So this is our intro to Git session. But yeah, so what is Git? So Git is version control software. It tracks changes of files at a certain directory and all the directories and children, if you know about the tree structure of file directories, all shown below that. And it kind of gets rid of the problem or behavior of having multiple copies of the same file. So like I say here, think of the times you had an essay due soon, and you had final essays versions 1 through 6, or final copy, or rough draft, that type of thing. So this kind of helps with it by just keeping track. Yes. No, that's fine. If it's, yeah, if you guys see something like kind of weird, then just let me know. Cool. Okay. Um, and again, if anything, I'll just stop screen sharing on Discord because I mean, if you guys all have access to it, then we'll be kind of okay. Except for when we start coding it. But yeah. So and then GitHub is it's just a platform that hosts our repositories and our code and all the changes. Allows for version control and collaboration, so multiple contributors or an organization can all contribute to the same project. And there are kind of four areas for, or like four like stages or like pseudo areas, I guess, of kind of working with Git. So there's a working directory, which is the local directory of our physical machine, right? The staging area, which is kind of the buffer zone between our working directory and local repository. Again, these aren't really physical areas; they're just kind of like stages or steps that our code are kind of at. And then there's our local repository, so this is where all our commits go. So files have been committed, and they're kind of tracked in the .git file. I'll show how it gets generated, but and then we have our remote repository. So this is just pretty much GitHub. It's just where all our code and our files go. Yeah. Creating a repository. So there's kind of two ways we can go about doing this. So the way I'm going to show right now is starting from like empty. So like not having a repository, just starting from an empty folder or file, and then making that repository and then pushing it up. The other way of going about it is pulling it down, but I'll show that later. So let me know if it doesn't show right on Discord, but I'm going to switch over. But so the command to do this is git init, and what it'll do is just create a .git file, and that'll keep track of all our changes. So, can you guys see anything right now? Okay. Yeah. I don't know if it's big stir. That's just my guess. Okay. You know what? I'll just keep it like this. Are you guys okay with that? Like, seeing the three windows? Okay. Yeah. It's whatever's easier, really. Like, but so before our difficulties, I just made a directory called intro to Git. So it's empty. Oh yeah. So we have that. I'm gonna move into there. It's empty. So what we're gonna do is git init, right? So if we do list all, so we have our two, those two period things, and then we have our .git file. This will keep track of all our changes in the directory. So the next step is adding files to our staging area, but we can't add any files if there are no files. So I'll just make a few right now. So now we got two files. So to kind of add this to our staging area, it's git add. And there's two ways we can list off each file name. So if you really only want to push up or add one specific file, you can do it like that. Or you can do -a or dot or just period. to add all the files in a directory. So for simplicity's sake, I'm just going to add all the files. So these are all added. Okay. So now we want to commit these files to our local repository. So with all our commits, it's highly recommended and I believe required to have a commit message there. This just kind of helps us know what we've committed and like the changes we made for each commit. It would be really bad if you just kind of committed and you didn't know what changes you made, that type of deal. So git commit wait, commit. Oh, I'm echoing through you, Arjun. I can hear my echo through you. I can hear it, but it's okay. It's all good. So initial commit. And since this is a new repository that we're trying to push up to GitHub, we need to make a repository in GitHub. So you need a GitHub account, but you do plus new repository. Just give it a second. I'm gonna make this private just because it's a test one. We don't really care, right? I'm gonna call this intro to Git. Here's some optional things. There's add readme files. So what that kind of does is like on the landing page of our repository, we can add some markdown and make it look real nice and pretty and tell them what this repository is about. There's a .git ignore, but I'm going to show that later. And then choose a license. If you want to add a license to your software, you can do that. So I'm going to make it. Give it a second. And then since this is a new repository, we do have to follow this one step. So remote at origin, what it kind of tells Git on our local machine is like, hey, we want to push it to this remote repository, like this location. So there's two ways we can kind of like get there. We could do it through HTTPS or SSH. They're both kind of the same. I prefer SSH just because I already have an SSH key set up for my own uses. So we're gonna copy that. So it's git remote add origin and then our link. If you're on Windows, it's just right click, but if you're on Mac, then you can just paste it. Go ahead. And then enter. It's added. And then when you commit, this is kind of like if you have any conflicts, this is where it's going to yell at you. Most of the time, you're going to have to manually change them. If you're on VS Code, then it'll kind of give a nice like user interface showing like, hey, these are the changes, and like, do you want to accept this incoming change or just keep your current change, that type of deal. And files here are kind of moved into our local repository, and I say moved in quotes, but these aren't really physical locations. They're just kind of like stages, like a lifestyle or not lifestyle, life cycle. But yeah. So now we need to push our files to our actual repository. So like if we refresh now, like there's nothing in here, right? We haven't pushed yet. So again, because it's a new repository, we need to do this one extra step. So the set upstream origin master. So git push set upstream origin master, and I'll push it. And then all our pushes after this, we don't need to add the extra line because it already knows. So if we refresh, we have our commits. Yeah. So say we want to pull, right? So pulling, it's more of like, so say you're working on a team and your teammate makes some changes to your code. This is how you update your own local repository. So like all the work you do is on your not local repository, your local directory. So all our work is done in our local directory, and then we want to get our changes from the remote into our local. So pulling, right? So I'm just gonna do it through here real quick, just so I can actually show the pull. If this was in an actual team setting or like an actual project setting, ideally we wouldn't be adding we wouldn't be adding files here or yeah here. We'd have other contributors like pushing their code, and we're just pulling that. So real quick, I'm gonna create a new file. I'm gonna name our file test3.txt, and I'm just gonna leave it empty. But Again, it's gonna make me have a commit message. I'm just gonna leave it blank. I mean, it'll default to create text test3.txt, but yeah. And then I'll mention branches later, so don't worry about that. But yeah, we're gonna commit it. Cool. So now a change has been made in our local, not local, our remote repository. So now we want to get that change. So just git pull. We have our changes. So we do list. We have test3. Um, yeah. And then, so there's Git Status. Basically, will just tell you like the current state of your local repository. So we're in relation to your or relative to your remote. So it's like if you have any changes on your local and it's not reflected in your remote, then it'll tell you about that. So I mean, if you do Git Status now, it's gonna say our branch is up to date. That's expected. We didn't really change anything, but say I made a change to test1, right? So I'm just gonna edit it real quick. And then I'm just gonna say test. So we have a change. So git status modified. So yeah, not staged for commit because, and then the modified file was test1. So git add. I'm just gonna do git add all. That's just habit for me. But our commit message added text to test1.txt, and then push that. And then if we wait for it to finish, if we refresh again, just now we committed something. So that's Git status. Now there's Git Ignore. So Git Ignore is pretty much a file where it lists all the files and directories we don't want being added or pushed to GitHub or even our local repository. So if you're familiar with doing web development, so with Node, Node packages, we don't really want that being pushed just because it's such a large file. So then when the initial pull time is going to take a while, and then the push with that directory, that's also going to take a while. So other things like config files, so kind of like DS store, where it's kind of like the configuration of your local machine, or not local machine, but like your local, like, yeah, I guess local machine. We don't really want to push that just because it's kind of useless, I guess. And API keys, we really don't want to be pushing that, making that public. For free ones, kind of, I have an example app. I mean, I'm sure you guys can see the Corgi Oracle thing up here. For that, like, yes, I use an API, but that was free, so it's like not a big deal. But there are some API keys where they will charge you for using it. So even just getting it or like calling their API multiple times or like past some certain threshold, then they'll start charging. You really don't want to be making your API key like public at that point. Just because if there was someone with really bad intentions, they could just get your API key and then spam it, and then that bill would rack up, and we really don't want that. And then, of course, passwords. Please don't make your passwords public. That's not a good idea. Um, so for us, when we make apps in Flutter, it automatically makes a Git Ignore file. Inside there, there's a bunch of files in there. It's kind of like there's .vs code, and then there's some other like config file stuff that we don't want to be pushing up there. And so some things that we can add in there, and I'll show in a little bit, are specific files like main.dart. Obviously, for what we're doing, we don't want to exclude that, but we can be specific as to which file we don't want included. We can even do types of files, so like the wildcard symbol, like asterisk or star, dot, and then whatever file extension. That'll exclude all files with that file extension. And then hidden files, like I said, .vs code. So if you use VS Code, all the configuration settings for that. And then directories, it's just a directory name and then slash. So I'll show it right now, but so I'm gonna make a directory. I'm gonna call this I don't know, test directory, right? So we have these four, and then I'm gonna make a git ignore. So let's just say we don't want to include test1, so test1.txt, right? And we don't want to include the test directory. I believe it's test dir, and then we need to have the slash after. So we'll save that. Let me make sure I named it right. Yeah, test dir. So now we get ignore file, and then these won't be pushed up afterwards. So if we do git status, we've added git ignore file. So git add, git commit. Give it a second. Yep, cool. So we refresh this. Boom. So our test1.txt is still here. That's because it existed before we made our git ignore. It's just that any new changes won't be reflected or pushed on, but we'll still keep whatever we had before. Of course, we can remove it. So we just did rm that, then no take it away. What else? Yeah. So next is cloning. Oh, do you guys have any questions right now? I should have asked earlier, but okay, cool. Okay, all right. Hang on. Oh no. I was checking something. Carol messaged me. It's all good. Do you guys still see it? Like, you guys see my cursor moving? How about now? Like me moving the window around? Okay. Let me restart the screen share. Man. How about now? We're good? Cool. All right. So, I don't know how to get this damn thing away. Let's bring it up. Okay. So, cloning a repository. So, like I said earlier, this is kind of another way of getting a repository down. So, say that you're a team setting, they're a repository, and now you're kind of joining and start contributing to that. So, what you do is kind of clone it. It just makes it makes a copy of that remote repository onto your local machine. And like I said, like same thing with adding our the remote origin to our previous repository. You can do it through HTTPS or SSH. I should have mentioned earlier, but SSH requires you to have it set up on your local machine, and then adding that key to your GitHub account. Again, for what I do, I use SSH, but it's fine. So let me. I'm just gonna clone this. This was a joke app I made a while back, but let me back out one, and then git clone, and then that. Okay, so we have it now. So if I do ls-a, then we also have .git file, .git ignore, basically all like the standard files we have in a Flutter app. What else? Okay, branches. So let me back out. Hang on. So branches, you can think of these as production lines, right? So by default, we have a master branch. That's kind of like our main like production line. That's what we want to have like published at the moment, right? And ideally, we want to make a new branch every time we want to add a new feature or something that could possibly break our app, right? So we do it just so we can kind of sanitize the main production line, just so we still have a working app, right? So to view all our branches on the command line, it's just git branch, right? So git branch. So at the moment we have masters. So the current branch you're on, it will be denoted by the star. And then to create a branch, it's git branch, and then we need a name. So we're just gonna call it test, right? So now we have a test branch. So to switch to this branch, it's checkout, and then the branch name, so test. And what happens when we make a new branch is that it'll make a copy of the current commit that we're at on the current branch we're at. So by chance, we just copied over to master branch. This isn't always the case. So whatever files we have in this branch right now it's the same files we have at the main branch or master branch right now, just because we were there. So if we want it to be reflected on GitHub, we need to commit it, right? So right now, it's only showing one branch, and I believe it won't show that we have another branch when we refresh it. That's because GitHub doesn't know about, we haven't committed this yet. So what we need to do is add something, right? So I'm gonna add a new file, not git, touch. How many test files we have? 3, so I'm gonna do 4, right? So git status, yep. We have an untracked file, so we gotta add it. So git add commit. So, oh yeah, and then every time you make a new, you want to push a new branch up, you need to set up street origin and then like the actual branch name. So if you remember before when we let me see, where is it? Whatever, I'll just go back to the slide. But status pulling pushing. So here, the setup stream, that's just a command. Origin, that's kind of like the remote repository. And then master, that was the branch. So now we're just changing the branch to where we want to push to. And basically after we do that once, we don't need to do it again. It's the same deal. Like when we're pushing a new branch. If we switch back to master, we don't need to do it because it already has information there. But so git push set upstream origin test. So now I'll push. Cool. So we have pushes, refresh. We have 2 branches, and now we can view them here. So if you want to see the different branches that we have, here they are. And of course, it's going to say that we're 1 commit ahead of master. That's because we are 1 commit ahead. We added a new file. And I guess now is kind of the time I need to like kind of explain how it kind of works. I mean, so the way Git works, it's pretty much like a linked list, right? So each node is our commit. The next pointer kind of connects all our commits. So it's like the next pointer would be the next commit we just pushed, right? And then our head pointer, that's our current commit. So how the branch works is, let me see. Let me see if I can draw this. Well, basically, instead of having the next pointer, we have children. So we just kind of branch off and go down. So that's our branch here. And in fact, actually, I don't know why I did that. I can just show you. Down to, where's network? Oh, insights, my bad. Network. So here, the label's covering it, but there is like a little like branching thing right there. So commit, 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 branch, commit. So that's how they kind of calculate how many commits we're ahead by. So say we finished adding our feature and it works with the current app and it's all good. Now is the time when we want to pull our branch up. So normally we do this through GitHub, just because it gives us the opportunity to do some code review. So you do it by submitting a pull request. So pull request, compare and pull. And then what we want to do is we want to pull our test branch into the master branch. So GitHub's pretty good about this, but it can kind of tell like, hey, you're cool. It's okay to merge it. Like it won't break anything, right? So able to merge, green checks, all good. If there's some incompatibilities, it will say that, and it'll say like, oh, you need to review these lines or whatever. And then create pull request. And since I'm the owner of the repository, I can just accept it pretty much. So merge, confirm. Congrats, now we've merged it. So if we go back to our master branch, so git checkout, then git pull, we now have test 4. Yeah. So at this point, you can delete the branch. It kind of depends on how you want to do this, right? So some people keep the branches just for keeping track of it. Other people, they delete it, but there's always a tag of it, so you always know what branch it came from, pretty much. So since we're done with this branch, and we've already switched back, right? So if I do git branch, we're back in master, and I will bring this back to the home page, right? So since we're done with that, we can pretty much delete the branch. And there are 2 ways to do it. It's just that, okay, so it's git branch and -d. Lowercase d, that's just regular delete. If you need to force it, it's uppercase D. If there's some conflicts or whatever warnings, you can force it. You can force any of these. You just gotta know what you're doing, and I mean, you gotta kind of practice and know. You kind of learn as you go, right? So I want to delete test branch. So git branch -d test, and now it's gone. So gone. And of course, again, I mean, give me 1 second. Get some water. Um, the changes aren't reflected because we haven't committed anything, right? So let's just add something to one of the test files. So cool. Git add, commit, push. Cool. Refresh. And we still have it. We just have to delete it, but yeah. Um, yeah. So like the branches kind of keep track separately. So like for us, it's gone, but on GitHub, you need to delete that separately just because there may be some collaborators that still need the branch. So it keeps it like that. So next is forking. Forking is done more so, it's different from cloning in that when you clone a repository, that repository still belongs to the owner. So whatever commits you make, that will go to the repository. Forking is different in that it makes, you copy the repository, but now belongs to you. So say there's some software that's discontinued and then a company or some developer has no intention of like actively maintaining it. You can fork it and then it's under it belongs to you now, and then you can just continue like updating or maintaining it. And for some people, it's like at the end of a hackathon, they all fork it just so it's like under their GitHub. Nothing wrong with that. Um, yeah. Oh, okay. Okay, got it. My bad. Thanks, Sunit. Um, it's because I don't really use fork that much. So I mean, that's kind of my fault. And then say you really messed up and you want to revert your commits. So to see all the commit history, it's git log. So I mean, and it's gets sorted from most recent to least recent. So like that. So obviously this is the commit we're at, and then everything from below, everything below that is from before, right? Let me just close that. So say you want to, you want to go back like 2 commits or 1 commit. You need the commit ID, and git log provides that. So these strings here. Um, so there's 2 ways to do this. There's git reset and there's git revert. So this kind of goes back to the linked list analogy, or like no, not an analogy. It's a linked list, right? So what Git Reset does is that it, like I said, we have a head pointer, and then we have our commit ID. That's where we're going to move our head pointer back to. But what it will do is it will delete our next pointer basically. It will just kind of drop all the commits ahead of that, and it's gone. So there's no history of it. So this is really dangerous for when you really don't want to do it, like, or like you decide to change your mind, you want to go back to the commits ahead of that. You can't do it anymore; those are gone. Um, so to do that, it's git reset and then the commit ID. Um, it's not really recommended. Reverting is the preferred method of doing it, and what this does is it grabs the commit from before that commit ID, and it'll just kind of commit that to the beginning or like to the head pointer. So you just kind of bring that change up. So what happens then is that it's the end result is that hey, you have your old commit, right? But you still have all the history, or like you have all the commits in between those 2 points. So say that you change your mind, you want to go back to one commit or two commits before that, you can still do that. It's just this is preferred. Let me make sure. Yeah. Okay. And then I mean that's really it. I can show right now. So I mean git revert. Say I want to go back to I don't know. I'll go back to this commit. So copy that. Okay, I guess I copy that. And then so it'll just give you a message saying like, oh, this is kind of your commit message, and then that's it. So save that, and it does it. So now we're back at this commit. So we list it all. We no longer have test file 4. Um, again, this is preferred over resetting, but yeah. Um, that's really it. The resource I listed is more of like a Git cheat sheet. So I mean, if we just go here, if it doesn't freeze on me, um, yeah, it's just a PDF of just common Git commands and kind of a short description of what they do. Um, pretty good resource. That's kind of why when I was learning it. But yeah, so that's really for intro to Git. You guys have any questions? All right, cool. Um, so with that, we can switch over to the intro to Dart. So just give me 1 second to get set up. And close that. I do not need this. Hey, you know what? I can just close this too because actually, back out one. Um, I'm just gonna make a new CD, not CD. We have it, and oh yeah, okay. Give me a second. Okay. Oh, that's not it. Uh, make a new one. Whatever. I do not need that. Actually, hang on. Let me go disable screen share in case it's gonna mess up again. Close that. Oh my god. Sorry guys, give me a pain right now. Hang on. Okay. And then make sure I have everything. Okay. Let's open that up. Oh, these are all from the freaking Corgi demo thing. We'll ignore that. Don't worry about it. Okay. So bring that down a little bit. So Dart, I know I said it earlier, but basically Dart's kind of like if C and Java kind of like became one language-ish, that's kind of what Dart is. So what I'm just going to cover today, how to do comments, but that's pretty basic. So functions, data types, variables, operators, loops, numbers. So it's kind of like the integer class from Java. Strings, kind of the string class from Java. Lists and maps. So those are kind of like the two big data structures ish. Again, I'm going to cover object-oriented programming another time, just because we have like 7 minutes left. But gotta go fast. All right. So comments. It's like C in Java. Double slash for single line. Multi-line is the slash star star slash. So hey, this is a line comment, and then you guys can see my screen, right? Can you guys see my screen or no? Okay, cool, thanks. So that's how you do comments. They're the same as in C and Java. Functions, they're pretty much like C functions. So it's return type, function name, all arguments. So, and all Dart files require a main function, just like C. So, but it doesn't have to return an integer. So void main, actually, I like it like that. Hmm, yeah. Oh, yeah, my bad, my bad. So, yeah. I mixed it up. So, so when we do when we start doing Flutter projects, you have multiple Dart files. They don't all need a main file. It's just that from where you run from, you need a main function. My bad. Um, so yeah, basically, again, it's like Java at that point, right? Um, yeah, Nice catch. Sorry about that. So obviously, Dart supports functions. So say hey, like hey, we want to do hello world, right? So to print, it's just print, and then hello world. That's it. All lines need to end in a semicolon. Um, we just don't see it often when we start using like Flutter like widgets. But they are there to just really far down like the file. Um, so we save this Dart, and to run the command line is just Dart and then the file name. So intro.dart, hello world, cool. So we can do the same thing with numbers, right? So say we or string. Well, yeah. So say we wanted to print out like what 2 plus 2 is, right? So to do that, it's $sign and then our variable or our literal value. Expressions need to be covered in a curly brace. So, like I said, we want to do 2 plus 2. So it's curly brace 2 plus 2, and then closing curly brace. We save that. It should just print 4. 4. Man. Okay, give me one sec. Oh, you see it now? Oh, no, we had the issue earlier. When I was using Zoom, it wasn't showing. And then like whenever I open a full screen apps or whatever, it won't show. But that's a word. Sorry. Mm. Yeah, yeah. It's string interpolation. Yeah. And no. And again, you need the curly braces for expressions. So I mean, eventually, like when I show classes or whatever, so it's like Java how you like access attributes. So it's like just dot and the attribute. You need curly braces for those. It yeah. So like for and also for like some literals. So like if you want to put the number 12 in here, you need the braces. Or just 22. Let's keep it at that. You need the braces. So I mean, you can just put braces whenever you do it. That's certainly a safe way to do it. But I mean, if you want to do it fast, no curly braces. But there might be some weird cases where it doesn't like that. And like you said, we can put strings in here. So I mean, we'll just put my name, right? Um, yeah. I'll just run through data types and then it hasn't updated yet. Oh man, hang on. I clicked on Discord and then it updated last time. I don't know if we can do it again. How about now? This is gonna be a pain. Okay. Um, well, basically what I did is that instead of 22, I just put a string in there. Um, yeah, man, that sucks. Okay. Um, pretty much. Yep, exactly. Um, welcome back, Arthur. Okay. Um, so, all right. So is my screen unfrozen now, or is it still frozen? All right, I'm gonna restart the screen share. Always, because it would be too easy if there were no issues. All right, it's all better now. I hope. I don't know. Can you guys see it? Cool. Okay. So next are data types. So the basic types, so integers, doubles, strings, booleans, and we can also have a function as a return type. We're gonna see that later when we do Flutter, like actual like Flutter work. But you can do that. And then so Dart can also be yeah, yeah, and also yep, and also forgot to mention it, but I mean obviously we have recursion, but we also have lambdas. So we'll see lambdas when we do like set state stuff. Um, but we can have we can do Dart with like strongly typed um, variables, or we can do weakly or dynamically typed. So there's two ways to do it. There's the dynamic type and then the var type. Dynamic, it's used when we don't know the type yet, but the value of the variable it can be like the value can be changed and the data type can also be changed, right? So I'm not going to show the basic types. I mean that's pretty straightforward, but we have dynamics. So dynamic, um, I can't use var as a name, but my var, right? Our favorite variable name. Um, so dynamic is that data type. So first, let's just make it equal 12, right? Have double equals. Whoops. And then later on down the line, we can do, oh, my var will now equal a string, or we'll just do Boolean. So, uh, I I hate this so much. Okay, I I'm gonna switch back to my other laptop, man. Man, this is painful. You know what? It's okay. It's 6:01. It's 6:01. I'll just end it here. I'll pick this up. I'll pick it up when we go next week. Are there any questions, guys? Okay, cool. What about you, Ash? Any questions? Cool. Okay. So yeah, yeah, I can say. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So again, next week we're gonna finish off this intro to Dart PowerPoint and then or Google slide, right? And then we'll also cover object-oriented programming. So next week will be all Dart. Um, and after that, we'll see. But intermediate assignments again, I'll sign that. I'll sign it like a lot more closer to these meeting times, so it's not so late. But yeah, cool. If there's no questions, then you guys are free to go. Thanks for coming, guys. Nope, not that I know of. I mean, if I think of something, I'll let you guys know as soon as possible, and then I'll push the deadline a little bit further back just so it kind of reflects that. But at the moment, I can't really think of anything. You guys should. I was just yeah. If anything, I was gonna say to practice making GitHub repos and doing those GitHub actions. But I mean, if you guys are familiar with it, then you guys are good. Yeah, that's really it. I mean, all we covered today was Git and then a little bit of Dart, which is basically C right now. So yeah, yep. No, no, I mentioned it in an announcement. Yeah, you can do it in Dartpad. So I believe it's dartpad.dev. Basically, it's like REPL. No, it's all good. It's basically like REPL. So I mean, you can do some testing here. Um, I was trying to play around with the lists, but yeah, you can do it in there. But if you have Flutter installed, you should be able to do it. Like it's part of the Flutter SDK. You'll have Dart. Um, but yeah, and of course, like in some instances, it's faster to run here, right? Because you don't have to wait for the whatever machine to finish running it. Yeah, if that's it, then I mean that's it. I mean you guys can go if you don't have any questions.